Look at the modern SUV in your driveway. It has massaging seats, 10 touchscreens, and a unibody frame that folds like a soda can if you hit a pothole. It is a fragile luxury car masquerading as a truck. Now look at the last real SUV. Why the Chevy Squarebody will outlive us all. For 18 years, Chevrolet did not build a fragile family crossover. They built a 3/4-ton workhorse with a roof and 9 seats. It had solid axles, a cast-iron V8, and heavy steel barn doors. It was designed to haul a literal ton of gear through the worst conditions on Earth and do it for 50 years without breaking a sweat. But today, this kind of unstoppable American iron is completely extinct. Automakers claim they just gave us what we wanted. But what if the truth is much darker? Did we actually ask for plastic luxury, or did the industry just realize they could not survive selling a truck you only have to buy once? Pop the hood on a Squarebody Suburban and the truth jumps out at you, plain as a slap of Detroit steel. This is not some badge-engineered crossover built to impress a focus group. Underneath the paint, you are looking at the same heavy-gauge ladder frame they bolted into the CK pickups, right down to the stamped part numbers on the rails. That is not marketing talk. That is the same hunk of metal you would find under a 3/4-ton CK pickup with a VIN plate that does not lie. Read the digits and you will see the C or K code, just like any Chevy pickup from the era. No fancy trim package can hide it. Let us talk numbers. Factory. A gross vehicle weight rating on a 1985 K20 Suburban, 8,600 pounds. That is not a typo. That is a number you would see on a commercial hauler, not a so-called family SUV. You could stack 9 people inside, lay a sheet of plywood flat in the back, and still have headroom for gear. Try that in a modern crossover and you will snap the tailgate before you hit the end of the driveway. This is not nostalgia, it is hardware. The same 14-bolt full-floater axle out back, legendary for surviving decades of abuse in pickups, sits under the Suburban, ready for another round. The TH400 transmission, cast iron and overbuilt, was made to take the kind of torque that would turn a modern transmission into scrap. Even the leaf springs are shared straight across the pickup line, built for payload, not ride comfort. Every single component screams function over fashion. You can walk the assembly line reels and watch them drop the same axles, same drive shafts, same cast iron V8 engines into both pickups and Suburbans. There is no hiding the DNA. This is a truck with a roof, not a car in disguise. And if you know how to read a VIN plate or spot a stamped frame number, you can trace that lineage with your own 2 hands. That is proof. Not a marketing claim, not a nostalgia trip. Steel, numbers, and the sound of a barn door slamming shut like the end of an era. Crack open a Squarebody's glove box and you'll find a payload chart that reads like a dare. 8,600 pounds, stamped right there on the door jamb of a K20. That's not marketing fluff, that's the factory saying, go ahead, load it up. Try finding those numbers in the fine print of a modern SUV brochure. You'll get curb weights and miles per gallon, sure, but ask about real payload and you'll get a nervous smile and a warning about voiding your warranty. This is where the whole world's gone soft. Somewhere along the line, folks started caring more about how many cup holders they had than how much steel sat under their feet. They'll brag about Bluetooth and lane keep assist, but ask them the gross vehicle weight rating and you'll get blank stares. Meanwhile, a Squarebody Suburban sits outside, barn doors wide open, ready to swallow a sheet of plywood flat, with the seats still in. 9 seats, real steel hinges, no plastic trim to snap off in the winter. Slam those barn doors and you get a sound that means business, not a polite beep from a power lift gate that is scared of a gust of wind. Here's the thing, the gross vehicle weight rating isn't just a number. It's the difference between a truck you can trust with your life and a crossover that panics at the sight of a trailer. The K20's 8,600 pound rating means you can load up your whole crew, toss in a week's worth of gear, and hitch up a car hauler without breaking a sweat. Modern crossovers, Most can barely tow a base boat without their transmissions crying uncle. And don't even try to haul 9 adults, unless you're counting lapdogs and yoga mats as passengers. I want you to start looking at vehicles like a mechanic, not a marketing target. Forget about touchscreen sizes for a second. Ask yourself, what's the gross weight? What's the axle rating? Can you fix it with a wrench and a little cussedness, or do you need a software update just to roll down the window? That's the lens you need if you want a vehicle that will outlive the payment book. Around here, it's payload that matters. Everything else is just a distraction. Roll that old beast onto the lift, and you start to see what separates a real truck from the parade of plastic imposters clogging up the school drop-off line. Underneath a Squarebody Suburban, it is all business. Up front, you have a cast-iron differential housing with enough meat to survive a lifetime of potholes and washboard roads. The hubs are full floaters, not some slip-fit nonsense. Pull the cap, and you will see bearings the size of your fist, packed in grease that is probably older than half the cars at the grocery store. That hub float clearance, measured in thousandths, not fractions, means you can rebuild it a dozen times before you even think about swapping the spindle. Slide back to the axle and you are staring at a GM 14-bolt rear end. This is not some dainty stamped tin carrier. We are talking a ring gear nearly 10.5 inches across, 30 or 32 spline shafts, and a pumpkin that has been known to outlast the truck itself. It is a full floater, which means if you snap an axle shaft, the wheel stays put, no drama, no disaster. You can pull the axle with the truck still sitting on its own weight, swap in a new shaft from the parts pile, and be back on the road by lunch. Try that with a modern SUV, and you will be waiting for a tow and a software reset. Move up to the transmission and you hit the legend, TH400. 3 speeds, cast iron guts, it weighs more than some modern engines. Open up the valve body and it is all hydraulics, no circuit boards. Clutch stack count is generous, multiple friction discs, steel plates, and a drum built to take the kind of torque that would make a CVT weep. You can tear this thing down on a bench, clean it with brake fluid and a toothbrush, and rebuild it with nothing more than a gasket kit and a torque wrench. No scan tool, no dealer-only parts, no begging the service writer for mercy. Leaf springs arch like a blacksmith's bow, thick as your wrist, bolted straight to the frame. No air suspension, no electronic ride control, just steel on steel. Those springs are why you can throw a literal ton of gravel in the back and still drive home without bottoming out. If you ever need a replacement, you can pull a set from any CK pickup on the same chassis. That is what serviceability looks like: parts that fit, bolts you can actually turn, and hardware that does not care if it has been sitting in a field since the Reagan administration. Every inch of this truck is built for the long haul. It is not just about what it can do today, it is about what it will still be doing when today's crossovers are nothing but brittle dashboards and dead touchscreens. The Squarebody does not just survive, it dares you to wear it out. Throw a loaded trailer behind a Squarebody Suburban and point it up a mountain grade. Now you are speaking its language. The old beast settles on its springs, engine rumbling like a distant thunderstorm, and you watch the temp gauge hover steady, needle glued just under 210. That is not luck. That is cast iron doing what it was born to do. Up front, the 350 small block turns over with a deep, even thump. No panic, no drama. The TH400 shifts firm, no hunting for gears, just raw hydraulic muscle moving 8,600 pounds, plus a double-axle trailer up a 6% climb. Now let us get honest. Split the screen. On one side, the Suburban, loaded heavy, climbing hard. On the other, a brand new crossover, all-wheel drive, fresh off the lot, towing a pop-up camper. Halfway up, the crossover's fan kicks into overdrive. The digital dash starts blinking, and the engine management throws the car into limp mode to save the precious turbo. Transmission temperature spikes, warning lights everywhere, and the owner is left staring at a touchscreen that says, "Reduce load." The Suburban is still chugging, oil pressure solid, coolant temperature steady, driver's arm out the window, not a care in the world. But here is where the real difference shows. Pull over at the next turnout. The crossover has a check engine light, transmission stuck in second, and the owner is on hold with roadside assistance. Meanwhile, the Suburban's owner drops the tailgate, grabs a socket set, and pops the hood. Maybe a hose clamp let go, maybe a belt is a little loose, it does not matter. 10 minutes, a turn of the wrench, a splash of coolant, and it is back on the road. No codes, no dealer-only parts, no laptop needed. That is what field serviceability looks like. Steel, not software. I have seen it 100 times. Modern SUVs are built to survive a warranty period, not a lifetime. One overheating event, and you are looking at a locked transmission, a fried sensor, a $2,000 tow bill. The Suburban. You can fix it on the side of the road, in the rain, with tools you bought at a yard sale. Real trucks do not quit. They just wait for you to finish your coffee and get back under the hood. That is why these old rigs outlast the plastic parade. They are meant to be rebuilt, not replaced. And every time you pass a stranded crossover on the shoulder, you remember, Detroit steel does not ask for permission. It just keeps going. Flip through a Chevy brochure from the late 70s and you will see a payload chart right up front, bold as a dare. By the late 80s, that chart is gone, buried behind photos of smiling families, two-tone paint, and promises of a smooth, car-like ride. The language changes too. Suddenly, it is not about how much you can haul, but how comfortable your ride will be on the way to the mall. The Suburban, once a badge of hard work, starts showing up in ads parked in front of ski lodges and suburban driveways, not job sites or cattle auctions. Commercials swap out steel and torque for plush velour seats and whisper quiet cabins. They talk about room for the whole family and luxury appointments like power windows and cruise control. Payload and gross vehicle weight vanish from the conversation, replaced by talk of cup holders, cassette decks, and soft-touch dashboards. The same truck that used to brag about towing a horse trailer now gets praised for its color-matched bumpers and optional wood grain trim. Ride quality surveys from the era start to show up in the fine print, boasting about how the Suburban rides like a car and handles like a dream. Never mind that it is still sitting on leaf springs and a ladder frame tough enough for a cattle guard. The message is clear: comfort over capability, image over iron. A historian who has spent a lifetime studying Detroit's marketing playbook puts it plain. By the late 80s, Chevy realized the money was not just in work trucks anymore, it was in selling a lifestyle. They stopped selling payload and started selling plush. The old-timers in the shop called it the soccer mom pivot. That is when the Suburban started chasing a new crowd, folks who wanted the look of a truck, but not the grit under their fingernails. And that is how payload became a dirty word in the SUV business. Try getting under a modern SUV with a busted sensor. The first thing you'll see isn't steel, it's a plastic skid plate, torque screws, and a web of wires running to modules you can't pronounce. Now you want to fix a window that won't roll down? Forget a screwdriver. The dealer wants you to book an appointment, plug into their proprietary scan tool, and pray the software gods grant you mercy. That scan tool, $12,000, easy. A former dealership tech told me straight, you can't even bleed the brakes on some new trucks without a laptop. Meanwhile, the labor clock keeps ticking. Warranty jobs pay less, so the dealership rushes through them, but out of warranty, that's where they make their money. A simple sensor swap that should take 10 minutes turns into an hour of diagnostics, a $200 part, and a $300 bill. All because the system is built to keep you coming back, not to keep you on the road. If you try to buy the tool yourself, you'll hit a paywall, subscription fees, updates, and VIN locks. The game is rigged. They want your truck to be disposable, not rebuildable. Back in the day, if your Suburban started running rough, you pulled the air cleaner, checked the carburetor, and maybe swapped a $5 vacuum line. No codes, no dealership. You could fix it in your driveway with the socket set and a little grit. That's why a Squarebody keeps going, because it was built for regular folks to wrench on, not just for service writers to milk for labor hours. The more complicated they make these new rigs, the more they can charge you for every little hiccup. It's not about progress, it's about profit. And that's why you see old iron holding its value while the new stuff drops like a rock the minute you sign the note. The industry doesn't want you to own a forever truck. They want you on a leash, paying for every update, every sensor, every single mile. Walk into any real restoration shop these days and you will see it. An invoice stack thick as a phone book, every page stamped with the same story. Squarebody. Suburbans are not just surviving, they are in demand like never before. The owner points to a whiteboard with a waiting list that stretches out 6 months, and half those jobs are full frame-offs, not quick flips. Why? Because the parts pipeline never dried up. Need a 14-bolt rear end? There is a donor pickup on every salvage yard row. TH400 transmission grenaded? Grab one from a CK, bolt it right in. Even the leaf springs swap over with nothing but hand tools and a little sweat. That is why you see these trucks getting rebuilt over and over, because you can. The market has figured it out too. Prices have doubled in 5 years, and the only thing rising faster than the values is the pile of old steel getting a second shot at life. In a world of throwaway SUVs, the Squarebody has become the blue-collar investment you can drive. Try getting a modern SUV started after its software locks you out. I've seen it happen. Some poor soul stranded at the trailhead, touchscreen frozen, engine control module bricked. The dealer wants $3,000 and a tow just to reset the codes. Now picture the Squarebody parked next to him, 40 years old, carbureted, no computers to betray you. If it won't start, you grab a screwdriver, jump the solenoid, pour a splash of gas down the throat, and she will fire on the second crank. Worst case, you swap a $5 relay or run a jumper wire, and you are back on the road before the other guy is even off hold with tech support. That's the difference. One is a hostage to software, the other is free as a farmer's dog. You want a forever truck? Buy the one that answers to a wrench, not a login screen. That's the last real SUV, and it will bury the rest. Right now, automakers are selling $80,000 SUVs that panic if you show them a gravel road. But the old Suburban? It's Detroit steel and stubbornness, still hauling more, lasting longer, and outmuscling anything with a touchscreen. When the plastic dashboards crack and the fancy software quits, a Squarebody just needs a wrench and some oil. That's why real trucks don't die. They get rebuilt. Drop your thoughts in the comments, fellow gearheads.